One of the major priorities and objectives of the utilization of fire is to reduce hazardous fuels, fuels that have accumulated over the years through windstorms, ice storms, and particularly those fuels that exist in what we call the wildland-urban interface. This is an area where our wildlands adjoin an area that is utilized by the public, whether it be a residential area, houses on the park boundary, or in this case, park facilities such as our campground. The reduction of this fuel reduces the impact of a wildland fire, which is an unplanned event. By reducing this fuel, we reduce the intensity of any unplanned events that take place.
Yeah. So these cedars have happened here because of fire exclusion.
Right.
And
yeah.
You're losing an endangered species,
right.
which is the sunflower.
Eggert sunflower.
Eggert sunflower.
Don't ask me to pronounce the scientific name.
Okay. I wouldn't remember.
The preparation for a prescribed burn takes place months in advance. First, the budgeting process. We have to figure out how much it's going to cost to pull one of these things off. Our crew comes in. The Cumberland Gap Fire Use Module is a crew of professionals that specialize in doing these, and they are based out of the Cumberland Gap National Park. Writing the burn plans, looking at the fuels, the different conditions, the slope, topography, all play within the developing a prescription for the burn. Once that is pretty well determined, we try to define our control lines. And once we've determined what areas that we are going to burn, preparation can take anywhere from a week to 2 to 3 weeks, depending on the type of line that we're going to have to use. Obviously, if we used a trail, it would take less time than it would for us to physically go through and rake out a fire line, or use a leaf blower to blow away the leaf litter and clear the vegetation away. So, a lot of it depends on the areas. The units that we burned this year, we were fortunate that they were all bounded by roads and trails and things of that nature. One of our units did require some hand line. We've been wanting to burn that area for 2 years, so basically those lines were there and they'd been prepared in the past. We just basically had to go back through and clean them up a little bit. The preparation, the day of a burn, takes place long before people start showing up. Generally the burn bosses, the fire management officer, gathers approximately an hour, hour and a half before the rest of the folks show up. We get on the phone or touch with the National Weather Service to see what our forecast is going to be. Firefighters and fire effect monitors go to the fire site to take on the spot weather so that we can enter into a spot weather forecast. Once we get our forecast back, it pretty much determines whether we go or we don't go. Because if the weather parameters aren't right, it doesn't go. Once that's been given, the resources disperse to the field, and we then begin to break up into our individual groups, whether it be holding or ignition, and start the preparations for lighting the fire. Because the Jim Lee fire was such a large unit, over 1,700 acres, we utilized the use of a helicopter to do aerial ignition within the interior of the unit. We had to go through and do hand ignition around the perimeter to develop a good black line, so to speak, so that anything that was burning in the interior did not have the opportunity to jump that line and burn an area that we didn't want to burn. The use of a helicopter aided this project greatly because, like I say, it reduced a lot of footwork, and we were able to ignite the fire in a lot less time it would by hand. The helicopter has a special machine, and we just terminally call those a ping pong ball machine. And it disperses a small round sphere that looks like a ping pong ball. And inside that sphere is a highly volatile powder. And when mixed with, of all things, just regular car antifreeze, the same thing you'd put in the radiator of your car, and once they're dropped, they kind of burst into flame after a few seconds and then create the fire on the ground, and then eventually these fires will burn together. The whole process for Jim Lee, from the minute we started igniting to the moment we finished, took us about 6 hours. There's a lot of walking involved. It was a very strenuous process for the folks on the ground, but being in excellent physical condition like our firefighters are, it went real well. This year in particular, we've been able to burn in an area that's adjacent and more visible to the public eye. And the public, we have pretty much had a good positive reaction from what we've accomplished here. Folks are able to see the fact that, yes, we did need the fire to clean out the forest floor of these hazardous fuels. They're seeing the benefits of fire as far as killing the understory. And we've had a good public reaction from this. Saying that it was done quite professionally, and that what we've done here is needed.